Reefer madness. Reefer madness.
And that's a little bit of Reefer Madness. Well, from the TV movie, at least. Kind of cheesy, but the show at the Mainline is not cheesy at all. I saw it last night. I really enjoyed it. And with me on the phone is Nichole Carlone. Good morning, Nichole.
Morning.
Morning. So, how did you decide to perform or to put on Reefer Madness? Where was the inspiration behind that?
Well, I first was exposed to Reefer Madness in 2005 when I was going to musical theater school in British Columbia, and a friend of mine showed it to me, and I was like, this is the most amazing thing ever. If ever I go back to Montreal and decide to do musical theater, I have to do this. It reminded me so much of home. And
Reefer Madness reminded you of home?
Of Montreal.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of perfect because we love. I mean, I remember when Evil Dead the musical was playing here, people went nuts, and especially at Mainline, they do shows that are just kind of fun and out there. So this year I launched my theater company, Process Theater, and our mandate is to do contemporary musicals. And this show was written in 2000, so I thought that it was kind of the perfect show to start us off with a bang.
I definitely agree. And, the audience was really mixed last night. There weren't one type of people, which you often see at kind of shows like this, that, you'd see a lot of young people. But really, it was a mixed audience. There were some older people or some younger people. Why do you think this show brings in such a wide audience?
Well, first of all, I think just the fact that doing a musical, a lot of older people, there were much more musicals back when they were younger and their pulp culture, and there aren't a lot of musicals done every year in Montreal, so I think it just kind of brings people out. I know a lot of the cast's parents were in the audience last night too, and they brought along friends, so maybe that's why, but we've been getting a pretty mixed house of older people, younger people, a lot of people who don't usually go to theater who've come up to me and said, I don't usually really like theater, but this is really cool and fun, and that's kind of the point of our theater company, is to show that, musicals, a lot of people still think of Cats or Oklahoma or older musicals, but contemporary musicals are really fun, so we're hoping to bring that to Montreal.
And you also choreographed this show, and I could tell you the choreography is outstanding.
Awesome.
There's music from the 1930s, that's the style of it, but the dancing was so vivid that, to fit it into such a small space really speaks to your craft and speaks to, your ability to put it on together. Where did you come up with the dance moves, and especially since girls are kicking their legs above their heads and flipping over guys' shoulders?
Well, honestly, it started all in the audition process. I wanted to make sure that in the chorus we had at least two dancers, two girls who could really, we have two girls, one is a hip-hop dancer and one is a ballerina, and they've never sung before. So their challenge in this show was to sing, and in the auditions, I looked at them and I said to myself, okay, what are their strengths? And then I just tried to accommodate the choreography to them to show off the people that could really dance and to mask. I mean, not everyone is a great dancer, but in the show, I don't think you can really tell. I mean, we tried to just mask the people who can dance, and honestly, I YouTubed a lot of stuff.
Well, I mean, that's the way to do it, right?
Yeah, I would YouTube crazy salsa turning lifts, and I would just watch them over and over again and try to, figure out what looked cool and try it out in rehearsal, and we kept what worked.
And it turned out really well. Now, what was it challenging to choreograph the show and then also to direct the show, because you have to focus on the acting, the singing, and the dancing?
Actually, I found it easier in a way. I've worked on a lot of shows where I was the choreographer and then there's another director. So you always have to check back with the director and say, okay, are my dances helping to tell the story? Do my dances look like what the vision that you want for the show? But since I'm already the director, it gives me the advantage of I know exactly what I want my show to look like, sound like, feel like. I know what the story is really well. So it helps integrate another layer into the choreography where you don't always have to check back with another person because you're that other person.
And also, there was a great band that opened the show. They did their own little kind of number, a couple of numbers right before the show started. And they played out throughout the show. Where did you find them? They're pretty great.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're the Mélodie Rabatel Trio. And our musical director, Shane Grin, that's actually his band. And when we were discussing music for the show, we knew right off the bat we had to have a live band. Because for this kind of show, I don't know, having canned music I don't think was going to give that edge we were looking for, and I suggested to him, I said, why don't we find a jazz trio that wants to come and do the show, and in exchange for them doing the show, they can have 15 or 20 minutes before each show to play their own music and get some exposure. And he said, well, actually, I'm in a jazz trio, and we were just fortunate enough that everyone was available, and they add such an awesome element to the show. So they're really wonderful.
They were really great. Now, do you have a favorite moment in the show?
I've seen the show a dozen times now, and every night it changes. But I really like the top of Act 2. There's a trio of singers who kind of narrate a little bit of a recap of what's going on, and it's almost the simplest dance number, if you will. It's not even really a dance number, and I think it's hysterical. Sometimes it's the simple things in life, but it always gets me.
And did you watch any Reefer Madness? Did you watch the original stuff, or did you watch the TV movie that they did to inspire your actors, or even to influence the way you were going to direct?
Well, the first time I'd ever heard of Reefer Madness was from the 2005 Showcase movie that they did of the musical. So I had seen that, and then when I decided to work on the project, I watched the original. A lot for the tone, the mood, the acting. I mean, the original is so over the top. It's an unintentional comedy, you could call it, because it was really made to really warn people about the dangers of marijuana, but it's so ridiculous that it's this unintentional comedy. So I did watch those. I asked the actors not to watch the musical version of it that they filmed, because I think the musical version of it is amazing, and I wanted them to have the opportunity to create their own characters and their own feeling, as opposed to trying to copy something that's already really good. So I know a lot of them didn't watch the movie at all, but I think once the show is over, we're going to have a big party and watch it.
You know, it's funny. After I saw the show last night, I kind of went back home and I YouTubed it a little bit, and I was watching parts, and I didn't like it as much as when I saw it on stage with you guys. And it could be just because it was my second time viewing it, but I think it was also because I don't think theater translates as well when you film it or when you stage it for television or for film.
Well, there's something really special about hearing people breathe and seeing their sweat and seeing them work. There's something really special about that you get in theater that you don't get on film, because it's so polished. And in the theater, there's still that element of, in a weird way, I enjoy watching if something goes wrong. I like seeing the actors get back on track. I like them figuring out clever little things to fix something if it's gone wrong, and you don't have that in film because it's so polished. So it is really a different medium, and it's just, to watch someone sing and dance and act like full out crazy right in front of you is amazing, because on film nowadays, well, even back in the day, they film the singing they record the singing separately. So when you see all the big dance numbers, they're going nuts dancing. They're not actually singing while they're dancing, but in the theater, they're doing it.
Now, just before we go, Process Theater, where do you see yourself taking it in the next few years, or even as soon as in the next few months?
Well, we're already starting to work on our next show,
which is?
Which we're not quite done working out the logistics of the rights, so I can't say what it is yet. But it will be announced as soon as we have it. But we're going to do a show at Mainline again next year in the same fall, September slot. In the meantime, we're looking at getting some classes going, some musical theater classes for adults and teens. And in the next couple of summers, we're hoping to have a musical theater summer camp for kids, because I think there's not a lot of that kind of stuff that goes on in Montreal, but there's a lot of interest. As you saw last night, the show was sold out, the houses were full. People do like musicals when they're good, and hopefully our goal is to make everyone who says they don't like a musical like at least one.
What shows do you really want to tackle? What contemporary musicals? Because people talk about musicals and you think, like you said, Cats in Oklahoma. What do you want to tackle?
Well, I have a huge list, but at the top of my list are, I guess, Urinetown.
Okay.
Spelling Bee. Some Jason Robert Brown, who's an amazing composer. He has one play in particular, Parade, which is actually a drama. It's really intense, that I would love to do. And I'm always trying to find new stuff. I'm always trying to read about new shows online. I try to get down to New York and see shows and find stuff that hasn't really been done in Montreal or seen very often.
Sounds very interesting and definitely something to look forward to. How long does the show run, Reefer Madness?
The show runs until September 25th, and our shows are from Tuesday to Saturday at 8 p.m. And you can get tickets either by visiting mainlinetheatre.ca or calling 514-849-3378.
All right, Nichole, thanks so much for joining us. Everyone check out Mainline Theatre, Reefer Madness.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.